Our next story, also from the Spark Bible, and remember we're still reading stories in the Old Testament, is found on page 164, and it's called God Will Bring Peace. Isaiah was a special man who gave people messages from God. Trust God, he said with excitement. Count on God to take care of you. Someday, God will send us a Messiah, the great Savior and King. Isaiah shared a message about a time in the future when everyone would get along and live together in peace. He said, soon the mountain where the temple of God is will become the highest mountain of all, and people will shout, let's hurry to the mountain. We will learn about God there. God will settle arguments between people. They will stop making weapons and hurting each other. Instead, they will make tools like rakes and shovels that will be helpful. People will not go to war against each other anymore. Then we will all live in the light of God forever. Oh, isn't that a wonderful idea, boys and girls? Maybe you can share that with your mom and dad. Well, boys and girls, have you noticed that in some of the stories we've been reading at this particular time, the main characters in the story have all wanted to share messages from God. We talked about Elijah and Elisha and Isaiah. And now we're going to talk about Isaiah some more. This time, our story is called Isaiah's Call. And if you are following along in your Spark Bible, it's on page 166. One day, just like any other day, something amazing happened to Isaiah. He saw God. God sat on the throne, and angels with 6 wings sat next to God. The angels used 2 wings to cover their faces, 2 wings to cover their feet, and 2 wings to fly. They sang, holy, holy, holy is God. The walls shook, and so did Isaiah's knees. Isaiah was amazed. God was more awesome than Isaiah ever knew. One angel carried a hot coal and touched it to Isaiah's mouth. Guess what? The coal did not burn. Instead, it took away the fear that was inside him. Who should I send to be a prophet for me? God asked Isaiah. Now there was something new on his lips. Not a hot coal, but brave new words. Isaiah heard his own voice say, send me, send me. Wow. Boy, oh boy. That's really something. He actually saw God. You know, Pastor Curtis always tells us that we are to go out into the world and tell people about God and Jesus, just like Isaiah. My goodness gracious. Here it suggests that you should surprise people in your family whenever they ask for help, and you will say, send me, just like Isaiah. Our next story is called A Child Called Emmanuel. King Ahaz, the king of Judah, would not listen to God. He wanted to become friends with people from another country who didn't believe in God. God knew this was a bad idea because the people of the other country really wanted to hurt King Ahaz and his people. God warned, God pleaded. King Ahaz would not change his mind. He wanted his own way. Ask me for a sign, God said. Then you will know that I am your God. Then you will listen to me. God sent a prophet, Isaiah. Remember, we just read about him. God sent Isaiah to talk to the king Ahaz. Isaiah did what God asked him to do. His job was to be God's voice. Isaiah warned King Ahaz that bad things would happen to him and to his people if he did not listen to God. Isaiah promised that God would protect King Ahaz and his country if he listened. God even gave King Ahaz a sign to look for, a child to show him the way. Isaiah said a child would be born and live with the people. His name would be Emmanuel. Emmanuel means God with us. Then the people would know how much God loved them, and they would listen to God. King Ahaz crossed his arms and shook his head. Who was Isaiah to tell him what to do? I am the king, King Ahaz said. People listen to me. Why should I listen to your God, Isaiah? King Ahaz did not listen to God, and soon things went very, very bad for King Ahaz. His crops dried up. There was very little food, and soon his country was taken over by others. Other people, the Israelites, did listen to Isaiah. They remembered God's promise and waited many, many, many years for God's sign, Emmanuel, to be born. Does that sound like a familiar story? I bet we'll hear it again.